Okay, let's go ahead and kick things off here. Good morning and good afternoon, depending on your time zone. Thanks for joining us for our installer training webinar, Using Microinverters in Commercial Applications. We plan to cover a lot of good information today that will hopefully provide you with the benefits and the how-to for APsystems microinverter offering and why they are a great option for commercial solar projects. Much more importantly, we're hoping this would help you be more successful and effective at installing, simplifying, and streamlining that installation process, reducing install time and saving you money. I'm Jason Higginson. I'm the Senior Director of Marketing at APsystems. I've been with APsystems for 5.5 years, and I've been in the solar industry for 10 years and in power technology for longer than that. On the call with me today is Chris Barrett. He's our Senior Director of Technical Support, and he's been with APsystems for coming up on 5 years. And before that, he was with SolarBridge, and he also has extensive experience in semiconductor and power technology. We're excited to be with you today. We know that this is a strange and challenging time for many, and the fact that you would take some time out of your day to spend time with us is a big deal, and we appreciate your presence here. So we highly recommend also that you take advantage of our free training webinars. They're happening every Tuesday and Thursday and continuing into May. Next week, we'll be covering a two-part series on the installation of our microinverter products, with part 2 focusing mainly on the ECU setup and the commissioning and walkthrough of the EMA. So we highly encourage you to join us for that. So to access that, you simply visit our website, you look for the webinar banner. It's located on our homepage just below the slideshow or at the top of our training page. You can also just go to usa.apsystems.com/webinars to see what's available, and you can register from there. Some quick housekeeping. We ask that you would use the chat box for any questions that you may have. Those questions will be addressed at the end of the webinar. A copy of this presentation will be provided to you. We're also recording the webinar, so we're also going to put that up on YouTube and send you a link in that email. And for those of you who are US installers, we'll also be sending out a NABCEP certificate with your name on it for your time for the training today. A little bit about APsystems. APsystems is a global provider of microinverters and power conversion equipment for the solar industry. We were founded in Silicon Valley in 2010, so this marks our 10-year anniversary. So congratulations to us. That's an awesome achievement that we're very excited about. For global business units, our US business unit is located out of Seattle, Washington. Our EMEA business unit is located out of Lyon, France, and that covers Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Our Asia Pacific business unit is located out of Jiaxing, and our Mexico, Central, and South America business unit is headquartered in Guadalajara. We have additional sales offices in Cupertino, California, Sydney, Melbourne, Shanghai, and Rotterdam. Some key facts: we're the #2 microinverter supplier worldwide, according to GTM. We're the #1 multi-module microinverter supplier worldwide. We have actually close to 1 gigawatt installed and close to 2 million microinverters now installed, serving customers in more than 80 countries and over 100,000 total solar installations worldwide. We're also available on several third-party financing AVLs, including Mosaic, Sungage, Dividend, and Y-Green. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Chris Barrett.
Thank you, Jason.
You bet.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. Like Jason said, thank you. Good morning and good afternoon to wherever you are in the United States or rest of the world. So let's kick it off. We talked about APsystems commercial solutions. We basically have 3 different products, which we'll go into great detail here, that will work in 3-phase applications. The primary here, which we'll talk about today, is the YC1000, which is this product right here. We also talk about the QS1 and also the YC600. One of the things that we are always proud about is this true 3-phase 4-module grid-tied microinverter, which is the 1000. As we said, the YC600 is a dual module, 2 inputs, 1 inverter, two modules, both can be used for residential and commercial applications. The QS1 is a 4-for-1, if you will. So it can serve 4 modules into one inverter. The YC1000 is the true 3-phase inverter, which can do 4-to-1, and again, serves 4 modules. Think of this inverter as 2 inverters in one package. Think of this inverter as 4 inverters in one package. And think of this as a micro string. This is a single phase, a 3-phase, single MPPT inverter. Let's go into a little of the details. So we have 2 single-phase products that can be used in a 3-phase environment. The YC600, as we discussed, is a single unit. So with 1 unit, again, 2 inverters in one package. Can solve to 2 solar modules. We have 2 inputs here, DC input here, DC1 and DC2. This particular product can be used in a 240 split phase residential, standard 240 volt delta configuration, a 240 volt delta high leg configuration, and also a 208Y. With all we need to do is change AC parameters for this to operate. So 1 unit, 1 SKU can work in 4 different power environments. As we discussed, independent MPPT. There's 1 inverter here, the 2nd inverter is here. So independent of each other. Zigbee communication to the gateway. This right here simplifies the communication from the inverters to the internet through this pathway or through this gateway, which we'll talk about. 60 or 72 cell module compatibility for this particular product. And max power output of 600 watts per channel. So 300 watts per channel independently. So if you only use 1 channel, 300 watts. If you use both channels, 600 watts. We have a 10 or 25-year warranty. Jason, would you like to add to that?
Yeah, so it's a 10-year warranty with a 15-year add-on, and the add-on isn't very costly. It makes a lot of sense to do the 25-year, and our products are built to last, exceeding that 25-year warranty term. So it's definitely a great deal. And one other thing I also wanted to add is add on to what Chris was saying. You know, the number of SKUs that you would have to stock using these microinverters, because they fit so many applications, because the YC600 and QS1, they both use the same trunk cable, they use the same accessories, and all 3 microinverters that Chris introduced use the same ECU. It significantly reduces the number of units that you would stock, increases the flexibility of the applications for those units.
Yes, thank you for that addition. Appreciate it. On QS1, this right here, again, single unit connected to 4 solar modules. So you have 4 independent inputs, DC inputs here. Again, can be used in the same 240 split residential environment, 240 delta, 240 delta high leg, and also 208Y. Again, with all it takes is the press of a button on the ECU app, basically a phone installation app, to change the AC parameters to work in the 208Y. Independent MPPT, again, if you take a look at this inverter, there is 4 different inverters in a single package. Zigbee communication coming out through here for communication, reliable communication, 60 and 72 cell module compatibility, and again, 1200 watts. So as we discussed, 1 channel is 3, 6, 9, and 1200s. So 1200 total, but again, with the independent MPPT, you're not forced to use all the different channels. So if you have an odd number of modules on a roof, you can actually use 1, 2, 3, or all 4. And it carries the same warranty as the 600. As far as the pieces and parts are concerned, the mounting fixture up here is the same on the QS1 and on the 600. So as far as mounting bolts, frame configuration, everything exactly the same. APsystems provides 3 different methods of grounding, although you're only required to use 1. The first is integrated into the cable, into the unit itself. We offer a weave connection under the fixture. We also offer a ground that's visible ground for a number 6 AWG bare wire copper. Depending on your jurisdiction, Most in this country will allow the integrated grounding, but like I said, we offer it up, and you can utilize any one of the three methods. Stickers, removable serial numbers. Every single APsystems inverter will have 1, 2 peelable stickers that can be removed to create the module map for the roof. We'll also have a permanent one listed here on the nameplate, and we'll also have a fourth one on the side of the unit for identification. On the side and on the face, both of these are permanently etched, so you'll be able to identify this years to come. These, like I said, again, are removable for mapping purposes. Zigbee antenna. This antenna is molded into the case. Nothing for the installer to do other than just turn the unit on. Everything is already molded, done. LED lighting is built into the device as well. This right here just gives you a visual indicator of if when you're plugging in DC panels, when the unit is operating, when the unit is communicating, all kinds of different things. And like Jason alluded to, next week, Tuesday and Thursday, we'll take a deeper dive on the inverters themselves. DC connectors, again, you got channel 2, channel 1, independent of each other, because as we talked about, there's 2 different inverters in a single package. And then the AC connector, as Jason also mentioned, this AC connector for this and the QS1 share the exact same configuration, so they can be used on the exact same trunk line. So a mix and match of QS1s and 600s on the same line. QS1, again, very similar. The fixture itself is exactly the same. Same removable serial number configuration. This one is a drawing here, but there's actually would be on the nameplate here would be a fixed sticker, and then here would be also a fixed sticker as well. Again, 4 channel inputs, 1, 2, 3, and 4. The same exact AC connector on the 600. So again, that mix and match. The same LED light configuration. And I do want to mention, all of our inverters share the exact same light patterns. So the greens, the reds, the number of blinks. So once you learn one, you've learned them all. You don't have to have special, learn something different for each inverter. They're all exactly the same. The same integrated Zigbee antenna into the case. Again, nothing for the installer to do on site. And exactly the same AC cable. The YC1000. This right here actually is, again, a single unit connected to 4 solar modules. This can be used in a 208 or 480Y configuration. And I wanted to emphasize here, Y only. This actually does require the neutral. As I said, it's a 5-wire system, so it's 3 lines, neutral and ground, built into the cable. This is the AC cable here. Phase monitored and phase balanced. This right here is key, especially the phase monitoring. You do not need any kind of equipment to monitor all 3 phases. This is all being done inside of the device. One phase drops, they all drop. Phase balanced, of course, power output equal on all 3 phases. As we alluded to in the beginning, single MPPT. So this is a single MPPT. So here, it's the addition of any one of the panels. Again, you can use 1, 2, 3, or all 4 channels. And well, as we get deeper in the presentation, we'll talk more about why you would choose 3 or 4. But basically, it's depending on module size. I know in a lot of commercial applications, module sizes are getting bigger. So depending on your level of clipping acceptance, we clip at 1,130 watts. So looking at the modules STC versus PTC, we can right size the modules and utilize the right number of channels to maximize the power coming off those panels on that roof through this inverter. As far as fixture is concerned, it's very similar, not the exact same as the other 2, but very similar. The same sequence though, removable serial numbers 1 and 2. It has a fixed serial number here and also another fixed on the side as well. The same LED light configuration, the same integrated Zigbee. For those of you that are familiar with this particular product, when it first was released, it did require the installer to actually screw on or assemble the antenna. No longer is that the thing, but now it's integrated into the device itself. One less thing to do on the roof. DC connectors, all 4 here. One thing I do want to point out, if it's important to you, they are all MC4 compatible. And they're MC4 these connectors, not compatibles, not Amphenol's, not knockoffs, but true MC4s. And then here's the AC cable, again, with the 5 wires that come out. We talked about this just a moment ago, talking about the 3 or 4 modules design. Basically, for an industrial, commercial environment, that really depends on what you're trying to do. If you have single row portrait, single row landscape, depending on module sizes, you might be able to put 4 together on a single inverter. If you only can do 3, let's say you have larger modules, say 400 watt modules, you may only use 3 of the ports on the 1000. So you'd actually utilize 1, 2, 3 in this 3-port design here. Then you'd actually just cap off using MC4 caps, watertight, dust tight, to seal off the 4th channel. One thing I want to point out is, I like to call it the 3-legged stool. We're looking here at, this is the inverter, this is the online portal, and these right here are the gateways, or the basically we call it the ECU, or energy communication unit. This right here, the energy communication unit, is the way for the inverters to talk to this device and then talk to the internet, pass that information out. Like we talked about, 600 and QS1 are both single phase inverters. So there's 2 lines and a ground coming out of here. But like I said, a 240 split or 3-phase for the deltas, delta high legs, and also 208Y. So it can be used in a commercial environment, and very widely is used in a commercial environment. The only difference is between the 1000 and the QS1 and 600 is the QS1, you, the installer, would have to balance those phases yourself. And I can demonstrate that in the 3 slides going forward here. The 1000, again, I want to emphasize here, is only available in a Y configuration, not in Delta. So if you have any kind of Delta, 240 Delta high leg, the QS1 or the 600 would be your inverter of choice. Talked about before, 60 and 72 cell compatibility, poly or mono, either one, no problem at all. These are some of the quotes that I've actually heard over the years from some of our installers and distributors. It's actually very interesting because what the thing is, the YC1000, the true 3-phase microinverter that we do sell, it really takes a residential installer and turns them into a commercial installer. Just like it says right here, game changer, changes into overnight because it's such a plug and play type of product. Again, if you're familiar with microinverters on a residential environment, switching over to a commercial environment, you're looking at different voltages, different grid types, but at the end of the day, the microinverter is a microinverter. Exactly the same as a residential. It's a trunk line, it's an inverter, it's the same ECU, and it's the same gateway, and it's the same online portal. So I guess at this point, just give you a little background. So I guess the question, and a lot of you are here asking, so why use a microinverter in a 3-phase application? I think the big thing for me, and a lot of times we hear, safety is a big one. There's no high voltage DC anywhere on the roof. We're talking about the voltage coming off the panel going directly into the inverter itself. So we're looking at something where south of 40 volts. Aesthetics is another big one. Customers don't want to have large inverters in the parking lots, hanging down the side of the houses. This can all be done right on the roof, under the panels, unseen to anyone. And inherent and NEC compliance by design. So I'm talking about rapid shutdown or module level shutdown, all built into the device, has been from the start, long before it was even a requirement. We talked about this, same crew for residential, commercial. Nothing different here. We're just talking about an extra line of power. Same configurations. So as far as the roof crew is concerned, It's just another microinverter they're putting together. They're attaching 4 microinverters, more 4 modules, maybe 3 modules, sending that AC down, making a connection in the box. System monitoring and asset management. This right here is a big one. You're able to actually see your assets anywhere in the world from your mobile phone, from your computer, see what's going on at any given time. And if there are any issues, you can actually schedule any kind of maintenance. You'll be able to see that. Like with any microinverter, higher energy harvest. We come on earlier and stay on later in the day. So your shoulders are much wider with a microinverter. And reliability and uptime. These right here, I mean, like Jason mentioned, 25-year warranty. These are built to last. So, in a commercial environment, you want this to last, and you don't want to be running back and forth. Some of the advantages: simple and fast engineering. There is really little or no engineering involved. I mean, it's fairly simple. When you're looking at the number of inverters that you can put on a string, so say for example, if you're using the YC1000 and you're using it in a 208 environment, you can use 4 inverters, which equals 16 different modules. If you're using the 1000 in a 480 environment, you're looking at up to 8 or 32 solar modules per string coming down. That's again a long. It's a line coming down to a 3-phase, 3-pole single throw breaker. Integrated grounding, kind of a huge deal. Faster installation. Look at that. So right here, we're installing 1 inverter for every 4. So as far as the conversion, you can see it's very simple, quick, all rail mounts on the roof, done. And like I said, the big one here, no high voltage DC running across the roof. So your maximum risk is this 40 volts DC coming off the modules. So no more 600 or higher voltages coming off that roof. It's all under the roof, all under the panel, and all under 40 volts per string. So at the end of the day, it's safer for the people that live in the building or work in the building, people that own the buildings, or any kind of emergency responders that are coming to the site. Low voltage, all AC. When AC is removed, it kills the device for rapid shutdown, 690.12, within 1/10 of a second. And like I said, more importantly, it meets the NEC 2017 module level shutdown as well.
Yeah, Chris, I think this is a great, this photo in particular is a great application example, because this was a carport application down in Fresno, and they specifically chose microinverters because they didn't want the string inverters at the bottom of the carports, accessible to the public potentially. Otherwise, they'd have to build one of those wire cages around it, and just the aesthetics of that was awful. So, yeah, micros are a good alternative to that for carports.
Yeah, and like you said, safety and also aesthetics. Like a lot of we've had some customers that buy specifically on aesthetics. They don't want to have anything in the parking lot accessible to people, anything visible. Everything's happening right on the roof, disappears. Coming off the roof with clean AC. Again, I just covered this, but basically we're talking about 690.12, and so we meet it by design, and have ever since the beginning. So like I said, microinverters themselves have this built-in device, the shutdown method. If the AC or frequency measurements are not met per IEEE 1547, we shut off in 1/10 of a second. And like I said, the only risk that's on the roof is 40 volts or something like that, whatever the panel is producing, going into the inverter. So all the voltage is contained underneath the array. So eliminating any hazard, and under the 80 volt touch safe for NEC. So it meets all the requirements. As far as monitoring and management, module level monitoring is available. We have it again available on the computer, and we also have a mobile phone application that you can actually see all your power production throughout the day on as well. Again, Asset management is kind of a thing that people have been asking us about. We're able to actually be able to see your assets any given time, anywhere in the world. We actually have security features built into the logic of the inverters and the gateways, marrying them together. So if, let's say, for example, if this was in an area where things, maybe perhaps there was high theft areas like that, customers could not use that inverter. The inverter would be married to the gateway. If they're separated, the inverters will not work. So there's some safety and security features that will be involved in this asset management. And like I said earlier, maintenance scheduling, kind of a big deal. If there is any issue, you're able to be able to see it remotely. If there is any issue, you can actually see it online. You can actually try to troubleshoot, and you can schedule time to go out to sites and work on sites if there's anything to be done. This is a classic picture. I've seen this before. Microinverters minimize the effects of shading right here. This is a huge one, and this is quite a bit of shading. Soiling, leaves, bird droppings. Like this is a great picture. But basically, at the end of the day, we're improving energy harvest by using the microinverter. Because if this panel is not working properly, the other remaining microinverters can work efficiently. No degradation. As far as energy harvest is concerned, this is the key piece right here. The microinverter itself, microinverters, both the 600, QS1, and 1000, need a minimum of 21 volts to turn on and start producing power. They can dip as low as 16 volts. So that's what I talked about earlier. We talked about the shoulders. So the morning and evening, you're coming on a lot earlier and producing a lot earlier, and it's staying on later in the evening as the sun sets. Typical string inverters, we're looking at 200 volts plus to turn on and start producing power. So again, there's a huge advantage here. Each individual microinverter in panel will act independently and come on as the sun hits it. The key point for reliability, no single point of failure with a microinverter system. Wireless Zigbee mesh communication. This is a really nice piece right here. And like I said, next week, Tuesday and Thursday, please come by and join us for the webinars. We'll take a deeper dive in this. But basically, this is actually happening through the air. So the communication from the gateway to the inverters happens all through the air at 2.4 gigahertz, very similar to Wi-Fi. And Zigbee, if you're not familiar with it, is, like it says here, mesh communication or mesh network. What's nice about Zigbee, think of Zigbee as kind of an industrial Wi-Fi, whereas Wi-Fi in our homes or businesses is a peer to point. Point being your device, your phone, your computer, your tablet, whatever, going back to the router, and the router being the point. With Zigbee communication, each of the inverters is a peer, and the point is the gateway or the ECU. So it does that. So the ECU or the gateway, the point, will go out and reach out to each of the peers and ask the questions: what's your status? What's your status? What's your status? But for example, if I'm trying to talk to Jason, I know he's on the call, but he's not answering. I'll talk to Ryan and say, hey, Ryan, can you talk to Jason? Jason, can you pass the information? Ryan will then pass the information back to me. So that's where the mesh comes in. So with Zigbee communication, it is a peer-to-peer, also point-to-peer network. So if it can reach from the point to the peer, it will communicate that way. If it can't, it will actually take a different path, and it will switch up as needed. Okay. So again, kind of in review, 1000, YC1000 is a 1 to 4. So one inverter for 4 different panels can be used, as I said, true 3-phase, because it is now a 5-wire system. Line 1, line 2, line 3, neutral, and ground. Has to be used in a Y configuration, right here. And we sell it in 2 different versions, 2 different SKUs in this particular case. So we've got the 208, we've also got the 480 volt system. like I said before, phase balance completed inside the microinverter. Phase monitor also built into the device. Critical, key, absolutely important there. All of it's being done in the microinverter, nothing else to buy. Regarding a 600 QS1, again, just a reminder, these two are single phase inverters. So they actually have 2 lines of power and a ground. But again, 600 is the 1-to-2 ratio, QS1, 1-to-4. 1 inverter, 4 panels, 1 inverter, 2 panels. Single phase inverter can be used in both the 240, 240 delta, delta high leg, and 208Y. Phase balance, as we talked about before, is done by the installer via 3 2-pole breakers. Line voltage and phase monitoring is built in for the lines, but it's not being able to monitor all 3 lines. So you would need a phase monitor depending on your jurisdiction when using a single phase inverter. As an example, if you're using a single phase inverter, like I said, you're using your 3 2-pole breakers. So the phase A would connect to line 1 of a single phase inverter. Phase B would connect to line 2. Phase C would connect to line 1 of the second inverter. Phase A connect to the phase 2, line 2. Phase B, 1, C, 2. And as you can see, we've got a balance now. Here's the A, here's the B, and here's the C. So as the installer using the single phase inverters, now you are balancing the phases by using 3 separate 2-pole breakers. But phase balance has been completed. With a 3-phase system, using 2 3-pole breakers, as we talked about, the YC1000 is a 5-wire system. Line 1, line 2, line 3, line 1, line 2, line 3. You're done. Just that simple. Jason, would you like to talk some of the case studies with me?
Sure, yeah. So we briefly covered this case study. This was in Fresno. It was at a golf club and golf course and country club down there, and yeah, they wanted to have a carport set up that that had all of the equipment, up into the array, nothing hanging down for public access.
Perfect. And this particular site was using the YC1000 480 volt system connected directly to their power.
Yeah, and what was remarkable about that is the speed at which they were able to install the system. And the same with this one. This is another good example. So we have installations on. For those of you who are familiar with Wawa and the East Coast, they're a gas station convenience store chain. And they were looking at putting solar on all of their canopies that cover their gas stations. And so they chose APsystems because of the value, and then also when they wanted to transition to, if they wanted to transition to 3-phase, their crew was already familiar with the exact process on how to do it.
Yeah, one thing I want to point out on this particular site is the installer here chose a QS1. They chose a single phase inverter to be used on a 3-phase in a 3-phase environment. The reason is they wanted extra power. They wanted that extra 1,200 watts, as opposed to the maximum of the 1,000, which is currently 1,130 watts. So there's just more power.
I'm not as familiar with this one, Chris.
Okay, yep. So this is actually in Canada. This is actually at a cheese factory. This particular factory right here, all using, I think it was 115 right there, 115 208s built in. This was all installed in 2 days, the entire array, between the racking, the panels, inverters, and all the electrical. So really quick installation.
And this is a great one that's close to home, close to our office in the Seattle area. Installed by A&R Solar. This was a home system, a residential system where they wanted to add onto their existing solar that they had on each of the homes. That was also APsystems single-phase product, but they had a community center where they wanted to add three-phase solar onto the roof there. As you can see, it's an ongoing. They're still building out in that area, as you can see in the background. And with future projects planned, adding additional solar. And one of the convenient things with our product is with the ECU, you can have up to 400 panels, I believe, connected to one ECU. So that would be 200 YC600 units or 100 QS1 or YC1000 units. So the convenience of being able to see all of that on a single ECU rather than having to get a new gateway each time that you wanted to expand capacity.
That's correct. And Jason, to that point, so you just mentioned something that was very important. So as far as the communication is concerned, 400 modules are actually able to be talking through an ECU. And what's important to also recognize here is they're able to do that through here using a single ECU on multiple roof surfaces. Again, because of the wireless Zigbee. So they were able to communicate with all the roofs and produce that one picture, if you will, online to see the production for the entire site. Not just by, like we could break it down by roof, but you could also see the entire site at one communication point. Very convenient.
So this is a tracker array that is put on top of Seattle University, and it was part of their renewable research group, and their graduate students also contributed, and it's another great example of how APsystems microinverters could be used.
Yeah, and this particular one was nice because they really wanted to have something for the tracker, like you said, that it can be moved, but they wanted something light enough weight that they didn't have to add extra support to be able to include the microinverters on the back of the panel. Yeah, this one right here. You want to go ahead? Yeah.
Oh yeah, so this is the Cleveland Price manufacturing plant. It's over half of a megawatt, and yeah, this was just a terrific install example of the YC1000. And as you can see, they still have room to grow.
and they have actually, I think, since this picture was taken. So yeah, this was actually quite a large site, very exciting to be put in. But again, everything you see right here was actually delivered and installed in less than a week. All right. So in regards to setup is concerned, again, we'll talk more about this next week in our other webinars, Tuesday and Thursday. But basically, with APsystems, we have basically what's called the ECU app. This right here is the installer's best friend. It's an application that you can download from both the Google Play Store and the iOS Store. But all you're going to do is basically create basically a screen interface between you and the gateway, the ECU. And it also gives you the ability, the installer, to be able to see the progress of the installation as you're building it right there on site. As we kind of alluded to, the ECU itself is the gateway, and like I said, it is the traffic cop between the inverters and the internet. The ECU's job is to go to the inverters every 5 minutes and say, what is your status? The status is, what is your voltage? What is your frequency? What is the DC voltage? How much power are we making? What is your temperature? There's many different questions that's asked every 5 minutes. So the ECU every 5 minutes will go out and say, what's your status? And I'll report back. So when you plug in the ECU first time, that's 0. And 0, at 5 minutes, we'll go out and ask the inverters their status. The nice thing about this ECU app is the ECU app gets updated every 5 minutes. So if you are on site and you are building the array as you're installing everything, you're actually able to see the progress. You're actually able to see the DC connections, they were done properly. You're actually able to see the AC connections that were done properly. And you can also see AC, and you can see power production. All this can happen long before you leave the job site. And the nice thing about it is if there are any mistakes or any issues with installation, you'll find that out at 9 o'clock in the morning, not at 6 o'clock at night when you're packing the truck up and getting ready to go. No need, I like to call this the truck roll prevention app. It's actually better than the configuration and commissioning app.
And one thing I'd like to add on top of that too is we're going to be walking through the entire process of how to use that great tool, the ECU app, on Thursday of next week. So if you're interested in that, I encourage you to sign up for that webinar, and yeah, we'll take you through from beginning to end on how to do that.
Perfect. In conjunction with the ECU app is we have this thing called the EMA, or Energy Monitoring and Analysis. Again, this is our online portal, computer-based, and like I said before, also application-based. So you can see it both different ways. Around the clock monitoring. So looks at this. What you're going to be able to see is power production throughout the day, throughout the week, month, year. And one thing that APsystems does not do, we do not truncate any of the data. The data is available from the time of install and for the lifetime of the system. The nice thing is it detects and alerts users to any performance issues. This is a nice feature as well. So if there are any issues on the roof, both residential and commercial, the issue has to persist for 3 days consistently. If the issue continues to persist for 3 days, you, the installer, will get a notification of the issue, not the homeowner, not the site owner. You're able to go into the EMA or your online portal, take a look, and verify with the issue. With the notification that we do give you, we give you things to look at. We say, oh, the DC looks low. Go check the connection. Do this, do that. There's all kinds of things that we try to give you information. Again, if you don't fix the issue, again, within 3 days, we'll send you another reminder in 3 days. We don't want to spam you every hour with everything. We want to limit the amount of information. We want to maximize the benefit of the information that we do give you. This is my point. Jason?
Yeah, so Chris has walked you through the parts and pieces and some of the mechanics, and so hoping that that knowledge will help you better understand some of these key benefits. You know, thanks to the multi-module nature of those microinverters, it's absolutely a faster installation. One thing that's particularly beneficial in this at this time during the COVID crisis is the single crew member installation. There aren't many systems that can be installed by a single crew member, but microinverters are absolutely one of them. So that does add some convenience when social distancing is an important part. I know in some states like California, where solar has been declared an essential service, and we'll see if that trend continues to grow throughout the country. But it really enables those installers and those installation companies to install solar and do it safely. The mix and match feature, being able to mix and match QS1s and YC600s on the same circuit to really reach that ideal design and balance for those systems, same trunk cable, same connector, same ECU. Reduced stocking costs, you have just a limited number of SKUs that can do all of those things. And again, the same ECU for all those models. And the flexible sizing, it's really convenient to be able to, if somebody has solar on their roof, being able to just add solar onto the garage and not have to install and commission a new ECU. Simple system design, like we said, the microinverters are very conveniently can be placed anywhere on the roof, so long as they're seated under a PV panel. Lower microinverter cost, and this is a critical point to note, is that one dual module microinverter does not cost the same as 2 competing single module microinverters. Because there is approximately 33% shared components inside, the economics in the production of the unit, we're able to pass the savings on to the customer. So it's even more beneficial with the quad. That's why we have a 4-in-1. a 4-in-1 microinverter. So there's tremendous value there in using multi-module microinverters, and installers and homeowners get to take advantage of that. Faster communication. This is a critical part, considering how often standards and codes are updated and change, and we have to make sure our product is current and relevant. And to do that, we've added capability into our product using the FPGA architecture that we can upgrade units in the field. To do that over wireline PLC would be very slow. Some competing products still utilize that technology, but we decided to kick ours up to the wireless Zigbee, the mesh network. It's up to 3 times faster than PLC, and so that that field upgradability is a huge advantage, and the built-in rapid shutdown compliance is also another tremendous advantage.
Yeah, Jason, I actually want to add to that. So, but just under faster communication and field upgradability, I want to just mention that since we introduced this Zigbee communication, we literally have dropped our phone calls, our tech support phone calls, by 50%. The addition, being able to communicate wirelessly through the air to the roof has simplified things. In the beginning, we used PLC or power line communication, just like every other manufacturer in this industry. But going to Zigbee, now no longer does the installer have to find a good outlet, good plug, good clean signal to the roof. This is all handled through the air now. And like I said, between the advent of the ECU-C, ECU-R, and Zigbee communication on all the inverters, literally has cut down our calls. And I'm sure that you have experienced it before, trying to find a good signal to the roof using PLC. Field upgradability. This is also a very critical thing. So as we all know, some of you may or may not be living in California or under the Rule 21 initiative, but these are the kind of things that we can take an older inverter and turn it into something new, simply by sending new commands to it through this field programmable gate array. Really, really nice feature. So it kind of future-proofs your purchase.
And I also want to add on top of that too. We've had some areas of the country when we do an installation, and we see some interesting anomalies in the power grid in a particular area, depending on how depending on the utility and the region and the distance from the utility, and so we've had to in some cases change some of those microinverter parameters to be able to accommodate what the grid conditions are like in those areas. And in some cases, if there's an anomaly we can't figure out, and we send it to our development team, they do the research, they figure out what it is, and they'll write new code just for the microinverters in that neighborhood, and send it out and upgrade it in the field. And it's a really convenient feature just to be able to help homeowners in a particular region.
Thank you.
So still going on some advantages, we talked about some of the superior technology, the advanced power conversion technology, the superior communication, the high reliability. We're compliant with all the current codes and standards, including California Rule 21, as Chris mentioned. We have a local support team. We cover from 8 a.m. Eastern to 8 p.m. Eastern. So we're 8 to 5 on both coasts. And so when we cover 5 o'clock, Pacific, it's already 8 p.m. Eastern, but if you need to reach us during that time, we're available. And we don't send those calls overseas. And we're also built to last. So we have, like I mentioned, designed to outlast that warranty period. It's a durable NEMA 6 metal enclosure. It's not made of plastic. We have DNV GL. They tested several of our microinverters to prove the capability and survivability, and that includes the free test, the high voltage, the water submersion, and we have the test available if you're interested in checking it out. The 1000 in particular, for this webinar, if you're interested in 3-phase, we can provide you with that DNV GL test for the YC1000. 20,000 hours accelerated life testing with fewer than 0.5% global failure rate. Financial foundation is very strong. We have a strong financial backing. We have cash reserves. We have an untouched warranty reserve, and we've been profitable every year for the past 7 years. So we're definitely able to weather through this crisis. Some additional APsystems resources I want to direct your attention to. Our support page has tremendous information, not just our 1, 2, 3 setup steps, but also there's also a form there right on our support page for you to contact our support team directly. We encourage you to use that for any issues that you face, for any questions that you may have. Our training page has great resources and materials. It's got a slew of videos for informing your crew about how to really streamline and improve and hit every step in that installation process. There's some instances where we find a system isn't working because there was a step missed, and that's a great way to make sure that your team is all on the same page and operating on all cylinders. Make sure that they do that training. Our registration page lets installers register for an APsystems EMA account so that you can manage and monitor your customer accounts. And our product documentation library has all of our data sheets, our manuals, and all the certifications that you need to be able to support your installations. Yeah, so we also have some additional training materials on our YouTube channel. I mentioned the videos on our training page, but there's infinitely more on our YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com/APsystemsSolar. Everything from our ECU, how to do connections and cabling with our QS1 and YC600 in tandem on the same circuit, or with split cell modules, etc. And multiple languages as well. All of that is available on that YouTube site.
Perfect. Thank you, Jason.
You bet.
Well, in review, just want to touch on a couple of the key points that we talked about throughout the presentation. I think microinverters in general are well known, but the real key thing is eliminate exposure to dangerous high voltage DC. This right here is the 100% best part of the microinverter itself. There is no high voltage DC anywhere near or on that roof or coming off that roof. This also eliminated rapid shutdown concerns, a risk of fire from arcing. This right here, again, because we're dealing with low voltage DC, we're dealing with AC coming off the roof, and we're also dealing with without presence of AC, these units shut down immediately and meet the rapid shutdown requirements for NEC 690.12 2017. Done. No special gear, no special DC switch gear needed for any AC system like the microinverter. Obviously, improved energy harvest based on what we talked about before was the early morning startup and late afternoon shutdown. Improved system monitoring. If you come next Thursday, like I said, again, we'll take a deep dive into the EMA or our online portal where you'll see the details that you can get down. You can get down to such a great amount of detail as far as voltages, current, frequency, temperatures. All this information is available to you every 5 minutes of every single day the system is operating. As far as future-proofing your purchase, you can actually keep adding inverters as needed. Again, there's no reason to go back and do any of system design. This actually, if you need to actually add another row, you can add another row, add another 3-fold breaker, and you're good to go. As Jason said, installation time is key. You're mounting one thing for 4 panels, one inverter. So installation time is much faster. And again, reducing failure points.
Hey, let's give away some ECUs. Hope everyone's excited. All right, let me get my random number generator here going. All right, our first winner, number 12, and that would be Tony Silenti. Tony Silenti, True Source Energy. Congratulations, Tony.
Congratulations.
And let's see, and Dave Ransom with it's either Rebuilder Group or RE Builder Group. And then let's see, the third ECU for the day is Robert Scabelli. So congratulations to our three winners, Tony, Dave, and Robert. I will be sending you an email notifying you about the award. Just send me your mailing address and we'll get a free ECUR out to you. So congratulations to our winners. Yeah, we'd like to take your questions at this time.
I see one coming in here. It says, will this presentation be made available? Yes, absolutely. Jason will be sending this presentation out to you at the conclusion of this webinar. Another question coming in, how much DC to AC ratio do these microinverters allow? Mainly the QS1 and YC1000. That's more of a personal preference. We typically do 1.25 would be a 25% ratio. But I am definitely much more in the camp of I'd rather oversize or right size, if you will, the system. I'm definitely not a fan of undersizing modules. I want to make sure that I maximize the power output for both. And when sizing a system, I think it's important to recognize too the difference between the STC or standard test condition of the module and the actual PTC. Some module manufacturers publish it, some don't. So I would encourage anyone that's looking at modules and right sizing their system for microinverters is to size it to the PTC or the practical side of it. So basically what you would expect to see. Like I said, most module manufacturers have that information. Some publish, some don't. But there's also a great resource online. If you go to gosolarcalifornia.com, this right here also is a great resource where you can go into and look at all the modules that have been tested. It will show the manufacturer, it will show the model, it will show the STC or standard test conditions that's printed on the label. Then it will also show their tested PTC. So that's a good way to go and just get a third-party verification.
Just to piggyback on what Chris is saying too, for the YC1000, for example, the different, the 3-module versus the 4-module configuration. So for the 3-module configuration, you can use those higher capacity PV modules, like the 450s. And for the 4-module configuration, because they're all sharing that one MPPT, you can probably use around 350, 360 for the YC1000.
Correct, for four channels, yeah. Another question coming in. The YC1000 has a single MPPT for all modules. Yes, that is correct. And the reason we did that, actually, because the YC1000 is traditionally, or is, I'm sorry, not traditionally, but is a 3-phase commercial product. Typically, there is light to no shading in commercial environments, and all the modules are all in the same orientation and same flip. So yes, it's a single MPPT for the 1000, independent MPPT for the 600 and QS1. Another question coming in says right here, can this be used with sun power panels? Let's take that offline, but the answer is it depends. It really depends on the module. Some of the sun power modules are definitely our higher voltage panels, and they also use a positive ground as well. So person that asked that question, let's definitely follow up after this call and figure out which panel you're looking at. Some of their newer stuff, no problem at all. But definitely, like I said, with the positive ground and the higher voltages, we just have to look at the specifications of the product before I could give you a definitive answer.
And our typical rule of thumb on the pairing of the modules is typically, so long as it meets the current and voltage requirements that are listed in the data sheet for the microinverter, the input requirements, as long as it meets those, it tends to be, it's going to be fine. A higher capacity PV module is not going to negatively impact the microinverter. You would simply have more clipping, and a lower capacity PV module Also, there's no issue. You just won't be able to utilize as much of that potential energy production from the microinverter. So ideally, you want to try to find that sweet spot, and you can do that just by calculating the output of the microinverter and then using your DC to AC ratio, as Chris said, 1.2 to 1.25. And then pairing that with the PTC that's listed on the module datasheet.
Okay, another question coming in here. Does APsystems have an AC combiner product for use when building a three-phase system with your single-phase inverters? The answer is no. Let me go backwards here. I'm going to show you a slide. We touched on this. Go back here quickly. Just a good graphic. Oh, right here. So right here, with the inverters themselves, they have two lines coming off. So with the trunk cable actually only has three lines, 1, 2, and 3. So this would be line 1, and this would be ground or PE, and line 2. So as far as the question is concerned, so we do not have a trunk cable with 4 lines, or 3 or 5 lines in this particular case, to be able to do this. So with the 1000, like I said, it's a 5-wire system, 3 lines, neutral and ground. With the single phase, it's a line 1, ground, and line 2. So as far as the balancing is concerned, that would have to be done by the installer. So basically, the inverters, two-phase inverters, the split-phase inverters, line 1, line 2, line 1, line 2, line 1, and line 2. And like I said, that's why we require 3 2-pole breakers to balance it out and get the touch on the A twice, B twice, and C twice. Good question. Another question coming in, how many YC1000 units on a circuit? That actually will depend on the voltage that you're actually installing. So for example, for a 208 system, because of the currents are much higher, you can look at 4. You're looking at 4 inverters, 16 modules. For the 480 version of the YC1000, you're looking at 8. So 8 inverters, 32 panels. If you switch over to the single phase, if you go to the YC600, you're looking at a total of 6 inverters for a total of 12 panels or 12 modules. And for the QS1, it's 3 inverters for 12 panels.
Which I believe for the 600, I believe it's 7 units for a total of 14.
That's only for single phase, but for 3-phase, it's actually 6.
Gotcha.
Tested me, good. Let's see, max size panels. Someone just wrote in here, asked about the size, did some math, 1.25, 375. That is correct. So basically 1.25 of the AC output for each channel. So correct, 375 would be my recommendation. That's the nice thing about the 1000 being a single MPPT. You can put larger panels. Let's say you had 440 watt panels. You can put 440 watt panels onto a YC1000 and have 0 clipping as well. So just about you can utilize the channels that as you wish to maximize the output. One thing to note, actually, we had a customer just recently, probably like a month ago, ask about Jinko 400s. They said, "Oh, Chris, I've got a Jinko 400 I want to use with your QS1, but I think it's too big because you have a 300 watt max IC output per channel." And I said, well, not so fast. Let's take a look at the spec sheet. So we looked at the spec sheet, and the STC, or standard test condition module, was a 400 watt Jinko. If you looked at the PTC, what they say is what you're practically going to get based on conditions, weather conditions, soiling, angle, everything. You're looking at a 302 watt PTC. And I said, you can use it all day long. You might clip 2 watts, but I don't think you'll ever see it. And they've installed it and actually quite happy with the performance. So just be cautious when you're sizing the system. Don't always size it based on nameplate rating, because the nameplate rating is something you're never going to reach. It's kind of like, I like to use the analogy, it's like a gas mileage sticker on a brand new car. You go look at the sticker window and it says, oh, you're going to get 32 miles a gallon. And that's tested in perfect conditions. That's tested with beautiful tires on a flat driveway with a little slight incline with a breeze at its back. So look at that. Look at those things. Look at the SGC. Ask about the PTC. Ask the manufacturer, what is your PTC to this module? Some will tell you, some won't. But again, you go to the California website, Go Solar California. That's all been done by third-party testing. And it's all published there, all public data. Oh, another question coming in. Where can I buy this product?
Yeah, I can take that one. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so on our website, we have a how to order section. And if you go to that, you can actually plug in your zip code and it'll provide you with all of the distributors that are closest to your area. And we have about 25 national distributors throughout the US that you should be able to purchase the product from. So yeah, if you have any trouble finding somebody that's close to you, just let us know.
Perfect. Another question just came in. What all types of ECUs allow up to 400 modules? So yes, both the ECU-C and ECU-R. These two products will allow up to 400 modules to be monitored by a single ECU. There's a question coming in asking about 127, 220 volt AC system. Again, let's take that offline. We do have an inverter that's actually not in this country, but we will definitely connect you with the person that can help you with that particular power source.
All right. Do we have any more questions, Chris? I think we got time for one more.
Let's see.
If not, we can just wrap it up.
I think we're good. Yep.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for attending our webinar today. Highly encourage you to join us for our webinar series next week, covering the basics of the installation, the microinverters, the commissioning of the ECU, the walkthrough of the EMA, which is our online monitoring portal, happening Tuesday and Thursday. It's a two-part series. You can sign up on our website or by going to usa.apsystems.com/webinars. Thanks again for your time, and we hope everyone stays safe out there and have a great rest of your week. Take care now.